15, recruiting and selecting new employees. Oops, went a little crazy there. Hang on. So why does recruiting matter? And we have to find qualified applicants. This is our learning outcomes. You should be able to describe effective strategies for recruiting a qualified applicants. So you have to create a compelling job advertisement, identify methods for finding qualified potential employees, describe the laws designed to prevent bias and discrimination in hiring, describe techniques to help us screen a potential employee, and discuss the usefulness of creating additional assignments for potential candidates to complete. So that's what you should be able to do after this module. Okay, so the first thing we talked about was writing a job advertisement. What is the company brand or quality or feature or something that evokes interest, a liking, or a desire? In order to attract the best candidates, hiring managers need to clearly define their employment brand. Here are a few specific recommendations to help you do so. First, clarify the corporate culture. Understand the market position and set performance expectations. Do a job analysis. You must know what the job entails, and this could be done with the help of industrial and organizational psychologists. It should be task-oriented approach. Well, it can be task-oriented approach. How frequently the task is performed, the difficulty and the importance, and the job specification, knowledge, skills, and abilities are identified. So how do we find potential employees? Well, candidates can search for jobs by managing points of contact, job boards, social media, and live events. When I first came to work for the college, I went to the college's website and saw a posting that was open to the public, and I applied. Advertising in newspapers and trade publications are effective. Sites such as Indeed, Monster, Career Builder, LinkedIn. Consider candidates suggested by employees. Usually if it comes down to one candidate who knows somebody who works for you and one that doesn't, people tend to take the one who knows somebody because we tend to be like our friends. So if that person's a decent, good employee or even decent, we're more likely to go with that candidate because there's a little less unknown. You can work through headhunters. That's their job, to find people to work for you. Normally the employer pays a salary differentiation. For example, I might pay you $20 an hour, but I charge the company $30 an hour. So what are 3 caveats that to be aware of with regards to an employer referral? Bias and protections in hiring. Equal opportunity could be a core company policy. Equal employment is the law. Unless membership in a group directly affects potential job performance, a decision based on a group membership is discriminatory. Some jobs will require the employee to perform a physical task, such as lifting and carrying heavy objects. In such cases, physical abilities to the applicants may be considered. For example, it's less likely that a woman could lift that weight compared to a man. Not that not all women could do it, but that might be something that we look at. The Equal Opportunity Commission administers the laws for the federal government. I'm going to skip the practice there. You can go through them. Bias and protection in hiring. Note that there are numerous city, state, and federal restrictions, and it may be different from state to state, and quite often it is. So you have to do your homework. You cannot ask employer marriage status, age, possible disabilities, race, or religion. And they may ask you in a tricky situation by saying something like, would your husband mind if you traveled? I'm trying to focus on travel, but I'm really asking you to confirm that you're married. The Equal Opportunity Commission, their mission is to stop unlawful employment and discrimination and is responsible for many acts. Avoiding discrimination is the best thing to do from a human resource and risk prevention standpoint. For example, I've always had students tell me that companies cannot, it's the law that they can not let people know anything about you. That's not true. I may have to go to court to defend it. But for example, if I call you and you're the human resource director and I say, can you tell me about Joe Smith? Um, I can tell you when he worked here and that's it. You can tell a little bit more, but the problem is you have to be ready to defend it in court. Even if I'm right and I can prove that I'm right, the time on the lawsuit and going to court just adds up, and most employers want to avoid that. Can't blame them. Screening applicants' objective is to filter out candidates who don't meet the requirements or who aren't a good fit for our organization. We can do evaluation by association, use the posting location. Application, use pre-screening questions. Assessment, assess the skills and aptitude. A screening interview, confirm the applicant's resume details, assess their range of knowledge and skills. Or an external verification, verify the qualifications and check references. Okay, let's talk about interviewing for a moment. Discuss the key elements of a successful interview. After this, you should be able to discuss how to come up with effective questions for an interview, discuss the process of effective phone interviews, and discuss the process of effective face-to-face interviews. So who's in an interview? It might be a one-on-one interview with an HR representative or a manager. A series interview where the HR representative, the manager representative from different teams within the job, or it could be a panel, several interviewers with a candidate. They ask established questions, take notes, fill out evaluation forms. Potential cons, it could be sabotaged or queued results due to relationships. This is kind of what we do here at the college. When I interviewed with 5 individuals. 3 were from my department. One was an admin person, and the other was a math professor. I've also served on many of these panels, and I know that at least one, I was very adamant that I thought we should hire the one person, and we hired somebody else. So you just never know. Okay, asking questions. They should be relative to the position and environment. Focus on the job duties, skills, and qualifications. You should have questions ready when you go into the interview. In fact, when I got hired at my job previous to here, I wanted some feedback on why I was hired. So I said, did you hire me because I had my master's degree? And they said, no, it was because I came in with a list of questions. I had taken the time outside of the interview to think about it, and they liked that. They shouldn't be about things that benefit you, at least in the first interview. For example, you don't usually ask what the salary is. Usually before from various postings, but you may not know the exact, so you would wait till at least a second interview to say, hey, can we discuss salary? So there's 2 types of interview questions: unstructured, unspecific questions asked about goals or previous work experience. Or there's structured, same questions to every candidate, prepared in advance in a standard rating system. So most of them, when I served on the panel for interviewing, most of them used the structured. We had 10 questions. We asked, not that we couldn't ask any extra questions, if something came up in the interview, but usually we just stick to the 10. Okay, you should ask about their knowledge, their skills, their abilities, grit, rigor, impact, teamwork, curiosity, ownership, and polish, but you shouldn't ask about age, race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, or politics. Phone interviewing, the second level of screening used to reduce the pool of qualified candidates to a manageable number. I've never really done a phone interview, but my children have done several. One example is that's how Disney hires their college interns, is via a telephone interview. Basic 5-step process: review the job description and specifications, so make sure you understand the job and are able to relate to questions. Prepare and validate a set of questions. Review submitted material, their application and cover letter. Then we conduct the interview, open it, ask questions, close it up, and summarize the interview. Face-to-face interviewing, which I prefer. Final step in the interview process helps you get to know the candidate through personal interview. Effective techniques are planning and preparation, understanding the job, connecting with the applicant, which is much easier to do in person, and be an active listener. Okay, so now we want to select our candidate. The learning outcomes here are discuss methods of selecting the best candidate and how to complete a job offer. Okay, so be aware for potential for perception errors on both sides and for implicit or unconscious biases. Blind spots can distort the perception of the candidates. Be aware you may have too much faith in our ability to evaluate others. I find I always have to take really good notes because I tend to remember things differently from interviews or take them a different way, so you really need to take good notes. Read important reasons for choosing one candidate. Focus on the job criteria. Seek evaluation input from others, but be aware of attempts to cater to interviewer interests and be aware of making conclusions. There are a lot of factors in perceptions and potential perception errors. So we picked our candidate, so now it's time to offer them the job. A job offer usually includes information about salary and benefits. Making the offer, you must have a job title, a department name, start date, hours of work, status, rate of pay, contingencies, leave benefits, eligibility, location, travel, and statement. The offer should be straightforward and give the candidate time to respond. Every time I've done an offer letter, we took the time to do a phone call first and say, hey, we'd like to offer you the job, will you accept? Because if they're not going to accept, we wouldn't go forward with an offer. Okay, so that's pretty much it for Module 15, depending on how you look at the numbering, finding employees. If you have any questions, let me know.